Hi, welcome to Movie Review Mom. If this is the very first time you've discovered my YouTube channel, yay, you're here. I'm so glad. I've been waiting for you. I love to do movie reviews to give you the heads up on filmmaking quality and content so that you can make the best decision as to whether or not you want to spend time or money or both watching a particular film. So that particular film I'm reviewing today is called Jurassic World Dominion. This epic finale released on June 10th, 2022, just one day shy of when the original movie was released in 1993. That's kind of amazing. It is now available in theaters nationwide, worldwide, really. It's rated PG-13 and is 2 hours and 26 minutes long. That is pretty long. Now, I used to wait and give my movie review mom grade at the end of my review, but I'm doing an experiment this month. I'm going to give it to you now, and I'm hoping you're going to keep watching the video to find out why I gave it the grade that I did. And so my score is a B+. But first, let me give you an overview in a nutshell, and then I'll tell you what I liked, what I didn't like. I'll offer tips for parents, themes worth talking about, interesting and funny lines, and even recommendations for other films that I think you might also like if you like this one. All right, so in a nutshell, I readily admit I've been a huge fan of this dinosaur franchise since the very beginning. Now, not all of the movies in this series have been as good as others, but I've still enjoyed each one. From Jurassic World architect and director Colin Trevorrow, Dominion takes place 4 years after Isla Nublar has been destroyed, just so you kind of put it all in the timeline. Dinosaurs now live and hunt alongside humans all over the world. This fragile balance will reshape the future and determine once and for all whether human beings are to remain the apex predators on a planet they now share with history's most fearsome creatures. All right, so lots of things that I liked about this movie. Starting off with, I absolutely loved seeing the original cast members blend with the newer ones in the final trilogy. So much fun. When Chris Pratt found out that the old cast was returning, he excitedly claimed, quote, "Just in case you hadn't seen the news, it's finally happening. Get ready for what is absolutely, without a doubt, going to be the biggest, baddest, and best movie of the franchise," end quote. He also described this final episode like the Marvel Endgame of Jurassic franchise. So the cast includes Chris Pratt, Bryce Dallas Howard, Laura Dern, Jeff Goldblum, Sam Neill, B.D. Wong, Campbell Scott, Momadou Athie, Omar Sy, among others. And they all do a really good job. There are plenty of action sequences. Chris Pratt dropped weight and gained muscle so that he could be in sharp form and still be absolutely believable as the action hero in the movie. And he is. Mission accomplished. I love that there was a plausible reason for bringing back a biologist and a dinosaur expert in this movie. So the old cast doesn't just randomly appear, they have a purpose. We're also introduced to some new characters. As filmmaking technology improves, the CGI of these movies gets more and more incredible with each film. Even still, this addition to the franchise has more animatronics than the last two movies that we saw. And sometimes, honestly, they do look like animatronics. Wah wah. There are a lot of respectful nods to the very first movie, which I love. That made me so happy. Easter eggs abound in visual and spoken form, and fans will really love all of that. We get to see a new kind of dinosaur called a pyroraptor. Fun! It was a real dinosaur that was recently discovered, but its size, supposedly in real life, was smaller than a turkey. We get to travel to destinations around the world. I always love that. And it cracked me up when Jeff Goldblum's shirt was open and he said, "Oh." I love everything he does. He's hilarious. He had some of the best lines of the movie, as always. There are a few moments worthy of a chuckle, sometimes out loud, a lot of times just internal chuckling. And then every dinosaur we know and love from the previous movies gets a decent amount of screen time. Now, with all of that praise, there were some things that I didn't like or thought could have been done better. For example, the last time we saw Ellie Sattler and Alan Grant together, they were good friends. So I kind of was surprised that they didn't even hug each other when they were first reunited in this film. It just seemed weird to me. Whatever. Now, it could be because some other things were going on. No spoilers, but still, it just seemed like it would be more natural for them to say, hey, and then hug. Anyway, I was surprised by the high number of bad editing moments. I'm sure I'm not the only Jeff Goldblum fan who wanted a more epic moment when we first saw him on the screen as well. Again, as soon as these old cast members came onto the screen, I wanted it to be this magical moment. And in the case of those three actors, it just kind of fizzled a little bit. I was excited and I was like, really? That's all they did for those people? There's been some criticism about the believability of the plot. Agreed. It's also been stated that this will not be the last film in the Jurassic Park franchise. Did you want it to be, or are you ready for another one? So I don't know if it really is the last. I think it could be the way it ends, but it also could not be. We could have more of this kind of stuff. I don't know. We'll see. It probably just boils down to how many billions of dollars they make. I don't know how much money. It's not really well explained how the land dinosaurs migrated to all of the continents around the world, just that they did. And that speaks to the plausibility of the plot. Some of the new characters just are not compelling at all. And some of them I thought were even a little bit annoying. That's not good. The plot and the scenes are pretty chaotic and scattered. And I admit that the tension seemed fairly low simply because our favorite characters never seem to die. We don't really lose anyone who's really important. I probably shouldn't have said that. Maybe that's a spoiler, but it was something that kind of bothered me, that you're just like, well, he's not going to die because he's the star of the movie, or she's not going to die because she's important, you know? And so the tension kind of drops a little bit. I wasn't really worried about them, and I didn't feel as emotionally invested in them as I felt in the very first movie. Okay, so I was going to say a spoiler, but I don't want to give you a spoiler. You can read my written review at moviereviewmom.com, where I do have a couple of little spoilers. So many lines are repeated word for word from previous movies in the franchise. Now, fans will probably be excited because they're from the very beginning. And the first few times I thought it was really charming, but then it kind of seemed a little manipulative. And then it even seemed like lazy writing towards the end after hearing these so many times. A lot of the dialogue is actually really clunky. And because of that, some of the acting suffers. So is it terrible and crazy to admit that I was actually a little bored at times? I wasn't expecting that. And then finally, the villains are just definitely underwhelming. Let me give you some quick tips for parents. People and animals are in perilous situations. There's some profanity. A girl flips the bird. Young children might be frightened by some of the scary dinosaurs and some of the action sequences. Now, some of the themes that are illustrated well are technology, nature, balance, friendship, and humanity versus animals. So I always write down funny lines and interesting lines. I didn't write down actually funny lines, surprisingly enough. But like I said, not very many were laugh out loud. But I'll share a couple of interesting lines. One is spoken by Alan Grant, who's played by Sam Neill. And he says, "Science is about the truth." And I liked that, even though, of course, this science is, not necessarily true science. And then a line spoken by Ian Malcolm, played by Jeff Goldblum, is, "We must transform human consciousness." And I think overall that was the biggest theme of the movie. Now, before I go, I want to give you a recommendation for another movie I instantly thought of, because it's a recent movie that came out this last year during the pandemic on Netflix, called The Bubble. And what it is a cast filming a dinosaur movie that's stuck being quarantined in a hotel, which is exactly what happened during this movie. Now, the actors have said in interviews they were treated very, very well. Safety was of the utmost concern, and they did as much work as they possibly could within the parameters. Anyway, The Bubble is not the greatest movie ever, but it did poke fun at the whole Jurassic Park franchise, and there were a few chuckling moments for me. You can watch my review. I'll load it up after this movie review is over. And speaking of being over, that's it. That's my review. I hope if you watch this movie that you enjoy it and you just bask in the epicness that this franchise has been for so many years. Thank you so much for subscribing. Give it a thumbs up. Tell your friends to come join me and comment down below. Let me know what you thought about the movie. If you agreed or disagreed with my review or other tips for other viewers. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now.